you have any regrets? If so, and why? I really don't have a lot of regrets, but I do have a few. I don't try, but I live my life so that I don't have any regrets. Some of the few that I have would be, I would have liked to either document more of my Italian grandparents and my Slovak grandparents' stories. Ideally, I would have loved to have been able to videotape them, or even if I could have, if they could have narrated and I could have written it down somehow, because a lot of the stories I don't remember, my brother doesn't remember, my sister doesn't remember, my parents don't remember, so I think we've lost a lot of that because we never thought at that time to write them down. The other thing is, one of the reasons I don't have any regrets is years ago, probably when I was in high school, or just out of high school, I read this thing about regret. And they said that 95% of the people that have regrets regret things that they didn't do. Very rarely do people regret things that they do, because if you do whatever you wanted to do, if you take a chance and do it, you either succeeded or you didn't succeed. But you always know that that's what happened, whether you did well or you did bad, or it worked out for you or it didn't. But if you don't do something, you'll never know if it could have worked out, whatever that might be, like whether it's for love or for money or for anything that you want to do. So I always try and, if I have a decision to make, I make the decision so that I won't have any regrets. The other regret that I might have is that when my cousin Vera was dying about 6, 7, 8 years ago, she had lymphoma and it got worse, and she was in her last month. She requested that none of us went out to see her. She was in Las Vegas at the time. She was my great uncle's daughter, who would be my mother's first cousin, who was like an older sister to me. She was 5 years older than me. She had an unhappy home life, so when she was 18, even though she lived in Monaco, she moved in with us for about a year and a half, and then she moved to Washington, D.C., worked for the FBI, became a flight attendant for United. So Dave and I used to go at least once a year, starting in like 1978, to go out to visit her, and then eventually her husband Doug. And we were really, really close, and I observed, or I respected her wishes that she didn't want any of us to see her in the shape that she was in before she died. And one of the reasons that I respected that was when I had a staph infection in my incision for a back operation that I had in 1985, I pretty much almost died. And at that time, I didn't want anyone to come and see me. I didn't want any, for whatever reason, I can't explain it, I just didn't want anybody in the room with me. So I understood what she was going through, and I respected it, but I regret that I didn't just get on a plane and go out and see her. And that pretty much falls into that category of, we regret things that we never did rather than things that we did. Because I think if I did get on a plane and go out to see her, I wouldn't regret that. So that's it for regret.